How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Let's Get Stringing. Today I'm going over the specs of the three Wilson Blade 98 V9s that I just received yesterday, and what I plan to do with them. Since I liked the Tennis Warehouse demo that I played with last week so much, I decided to purchase a pair that's closest in spec. You can see its spec posted on the Tennis Warehouse website. 98 square inch racket, 323 gram strong weight, 33 centimeter balance point, 324 swing weight, stiffness of 62, beam width of 21 millimeters, constant beam. Let's take a look at these three Wilson Blade 98 V9s that I just bought. Three of them. Originally, I was going to find the two that's closest, that are closest in spec, and then because I would prefer to buy a pair instead of just a single one. I don't know if you can see, here's what it's printed on the throat. This is a 98 square inch racket, 305 gram unstrung, 7 points headlight. That's the recommended tension over there, 50 to 60 pounds. I like the colors on this. There's orange and then the green that matches these staples, they call it. That's supposed to speed up the replacement of the head guard. The staples come off, and then the head guard's supposed to come off real fast. I took a look at the grommet holes and their relative sizes. What I found is that what also helps speed up things is these holes are drilled quite a bit larger than the actual grommets themselves. So, matter of fact, if I just put my finger on here, okay, and I move them, I wiggle, move them left and right, up and down, there's a lot of room for movement. Okay, so I would imagine that even after you string it, with that amount of tolerance, you'd be able to remove the head guard and the grommet set quite easily, because simply because the holes are drilled larger on the frame. And I can see the advantage of that is that it allows more string movement. As the strings move, it'll take the grommets along with them, up and down or left and right, depending on the force. So perhaps that generates a little bit of more bounce and power without introducing too much trampoline effect. But I do like the 16x19 string pattern. I wouldn't be able to play 18x20. So as you can see, I spent some time measuring the specs of all three. I got the serial number of the three, and I did the unstrung weight, balance, and swing weight. And I should point out, while I have this stick here, I did open up the butt cap, and I found that, hopefully you can see, both chambers are foam filled. And I'll put a comparison picture on this video somewhere of the one that I demoed a couple of weeks ago from Tennis Warehouse. As you can see, this was a demo stick. It was strung with Tennis Warehouse P6 strings, 1.3 millimeter at 53 pounds. With one of the chamber being totally silicone filled. So with this one, which I'm going to keep, being foam filled in both chambers, I don't know if they're entirely filled or partially filled with foam, or maybe underneath the film there would still be silicone. I'm not sure. This brand new, I'm not going to rip this out. I tried to pry it out with my finger, and I found that I found that it could have adhesive surrounding the foam, or maybe the foam itself has some adhesive mixed in, because it's stuck to the chamber walls. So I'm not gonna force it out since it's brand new. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. Why Wilson did this at the factory with foam as opposed to the demo racket that I got, being half foam, half silicone. What their decision process is in doing that, I'm not sure. And I understand this is relatively small sample size. I only opened up one butt cap so far. Let me put the butt cap back on here. And I'm not going to open up the other two. because that will require removing the plastic wrap altogether. And just because the demo that I use was half silicone filled doesn't mean that a lot of them are like that. I just simply not sure. If I were to guess, I would guess that it depends on the spec measurements and how well it falls into their QC tolerance. I would guess that if they need to add a lot of weight inside the handle to compensate for the lack of weight, they would use the heavier silicone. I would venture to guess that the foam would weight lighter compared to the silicone. And then in cases where they need more weight added, they would use silicone. Maybe, I'm not sure. So anyways, let's go over the spec of the 3 that I got. Look at the first one, it's 308.4 grams. I should put grams on these. And the balance is in centimeter. Okay, the plastic wrap itself weighs 2 grams, so you can take 2 off of here, so it makes this one 306.4, this one 304.8, this one 306.7. So as you can see, they're very much right on. The factory is supposed to be 305 grams. So the closest to spec is this one, being 304.8. The middle one. The balance are, I would say, very consistent. These two match at 31.4 centimeters. This one is perhaps 1 point or less than 1 point more headlight. And let's look at the swing weight. From the lowest to the highest, there's a spread of 7. And then it just so happened that between the lightest one to the medium one, there's a difference of 3.5 units of swing weight. And from the medium one to the heaviest one, there's a difference of 3.5. So altogether, 7. Spread of 7. That gives you an idea. Just among this sample size of 3 rackets that I happen to get, there's a spread of 7 swing weight units. The lightest one being 287. Medium one being 290.5, and the heaviest one being 294. Now, different swing weights will work will fulfill different purposes for different players. A couple weeks ago, the demo that I used had a swing weight of 330 when I measured it strung, and it came with the P6 string in a 1.3 millimeter gauge. That's basically 16 gauge. That's Tennis Warehouse own string. It's called a tennis only P6. It was sweet. It played super sweet in that demo racket. I used it for a good more than a week for sure. For a few days we had rain in the rows. A few days of rain, so we couldn't use it. So I had them extended my demo time, and then that string lasted. It was still playable before I had to return it. So they sell it for like less than $5 a pack on their site if you buy 4 of them. I would almost buy it if it wasn't the 1.3 millimeter, because my preferred gauge is 17 gauge, 1.25. Because I'm a stringer, I could string it whenever I want. So durability is usually not an issue. So I would rather have more feel and comfort with a thinner gauge. So if they were to sell this string at 1.25 millimeter, I would buy a reel right away. But even with 16 gauge, it played really well. It played like something I could definitely play in the long run. So anyways, I measured 330 swing weight on that demo before I added a dampener. Once I added the dampener on there, it's 332 swing weight. And while I was getting good penetration playing compared to my regular racket, the Speed MP 100, launch angle is much flatter, balls had more penetration, shots are faster and deeper, which definitely made me make the decision to go for this racket. However, I should say that on Tennis Warehouse, they published the swing weight being 324. I'll put a picture here somewhere of what they published for a 16x19 blade. Their own demo is already 6 units over what they say it's supposed to be. So that just gives you an idea. These measurements, they would vary probably among batch to batch. Even within the same batch, it varies. It's just their QC tolerance. I see that they do a pretty good job controlling the spread of the unstrung weight and the spread of the balance. It's very close. I see that there's still work to be done with the swing weight. Is this issue unique to Wilson? I would say no, because I recently looked at, I had a friend who bought pairs of Speed Boom Pros, and the swing weight is being provided by these online retailers, and he paid extra to have them measured too. A set of 10 different rackets, all measured, and they all measured out a few units below. I mean, at least a few units, up to 10 units below what they publish on their website. Matter of fact, if you compare the Boom Pro to the Boom MP, what they're actually selling, the actual Boom Pros that they're selling have the swing weights of the Boom MPs. So either somebody messed up at the factory, or they're not sending consistent swing weights all across the board, or it could be that because that Boom, well, I shouldn't say that it's an outgoing model, because I've seen reviews on the new Boom too, same thing. So it's no better. There's a big variation in swing weight. Maybe one batch will be closer to what they say it's supposed to be, and that's one thing. Another issue is that I don't know if Wilson or Head tells everyone what their swing weight is supposed to be. At least I don't see it from the manufacturer's website. So maybe they don't guarantee anything to begin with, and the swing weights that's published by the online retailers are simply there as a public service to give the consumers an idea of what they can expect. So, but it's kind of, I mean, it helps a little bit, but not entirely, because for some more serious tennis players like me, when I'm looking for a certain spec, and I end up with a certain other specs, it could be kind of misleading. If I end up with something lower, fine, I could customize it by adding lead to the hoop to increase the swing weight. However, if I happen to buy one that's like way over my spec of what the swing weight that I'm able to handle myself, then I'm not able to reduce the swing weight. So once I have it strong, I can't return the racket. Now what? So it's another thing to point out. That's why it's very important to have your own swing weight machine. It's worth the money. I would highly recommend the Brightfeedy SW1. It doesn't cost that much, and you can do like I do before you open the wrap. Whenever the wrap on the handle, whenever you buy a new racket, have it measured before you decide to keep the racket. So anyway, as you can see, I'm keeping this one. This one is this middle one right here. It has the middle swing weight at 290.5 unstrung. Usually with a strung, you would add on average 30 swing weight units. However, on some heavier strings like your your Headlinks Tour, that happen to weigh more than 30 grams, I would count it as 32 or 34 grams. Let's just say 32 grams. If you add 32 grams onto that, what do you get? You get like a 322.5. And then I'm an avid user of dampeners. These 3-gram dampeners is what I put on my sticks at about 14 centimeters above the racket handle. If you enter that into the Racquet Tune app, it tells you the increase in swing weight right away. It usually adds about 2 units of swing weight. So that's 222.5 plus 2 units, that gives you 224.5. That's pretty close to my target of 325 that I'm trying to shoot for. on my speed MPs, I've been using around 330 to 332 swing weight is my current. And at times I do feel that it's a little bit sluggish. It adds some stress, some stress to my wrist. Therefore, my thinking is to drop the swing weight to somewhere between, drop it 5 units lower. So I'll be playing between 325 to 330. That is why I decided to shoot for 325 minimum swing weight. If I could play with that after I string it and I play it, if I could play with that, fine. Then I would just play with a stock without having to customize it. But if I feel that it's lacking power at that swing weight, I could always boost it up a few units up to my current string weight of around 330. Anything above 335 would be near impossible for me to play in my current condition. So that is the thinking behind it. That's the reason why I'm keeping this middle frame, because the expected swing weight that I'm gonna get from the unstrung swing weight will be close to 325, 324.5 actually. So let's go ahead and get that strung up, and I'll measure its spec again after they're all strung. Before I do that, you see, I've anticipated or predicted what would happen, what the specs would be if I were to add if I were to use a 5 gram overgrip versus a 7 gram overgrip, and what would happen. Okay, this is a 7. What would happen if I were to customize it with 2 grams of additional lead? Those are the set of spec. So, anyways, those are all my predictions. It's all gonna change depending on the actual weight of the string. So let's go ahead and get this racket strung up. By the way, this person who paid for the extra measurement service decided to keep the heaviest swing weight out of all 10 different rackets, being 293. And in retrospect, I wish I had done the same. He's making a smart choice, because in retrospect, I had realized afterwards that the plastic wrap and the stupid paper inside together weighed more than 5 grams. I had only assumed that the plastic wrapper usually only weighs 2 grams, and I didn't take into consideration of the stupid paper inside. Even though weight in the handle doesn't affect swing weight much, it basically made the racket I'm keeping 301.5 gram racket instead of a 305 gram racket. So from that perspective, I should have kept the heaviest racket being the 308.7 grams. But then that one would allow me less room to customize and add weight in the future. If the stock weights are within match my spec already, I would have no reason to customize.